Rolling.
We're all good. We're rolling.
Rolling.
Cool. Henry rolling. All right.
All right.
Yeah. We'll get into the hate in a bit.
All right. Yep.
I can't do shit, but I know I want to. Maybe if we talk about it, I'll find shit to do. I got a brain somewhere and you got one too. Da-ba-da-da, something to be fucking do.
I'll improv it or something.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm
Good.
alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you improving?
Some stuff I was meant to do before. I'll improv it later.
All right. Good.
You alright?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
You offended by my pajamas?
They just look like jogging bottoms to me.
Yeah. What pajamas then? You don't run in panic in your pajamas? You always run in panic. You should always run in panic.
That sounds very energetic.
Running's not energetic?
Not
I do
compared
running to calm
Not
down.
compared to running while panicking.
Yeah.
Running while panicking is like searching for your keys. Like
running for your
if
life.
you're running late. Yeah. Well, there is an app. I was
Run for your life.
I was doing the running apps for a while. The Catch to 5K stuff works quite well, but there is one where you're running from zombies,
Right.
and you put the headphones in, and then it's a run walk thing. And when you hear the zombies, you have to outrun them, and it like measures your pace and all that.
Okay.
It's
Fair enough.
interesting.
So it's just sound of zombies every couple of minutes.
Yeah, because some people can't run without zombies.
That's true. I guess.
Yeah, the threat of danger.
You don't have to be afraid of zombies, do you? It's only the fact that they've got like a political agenda of devouring you.
Yeah.
But
Is
if they
that political?
didn't have that, or allocation of resources.
Yeah. I'm against cannibalism.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like those zombies. All the zombies.
I'm against this.
Yeah. Zombies voting.
Yeah. You'd be offended by a zombie though, would you?
No.
I've been trying to figure out offence because I'm trying to figure out I can't remember the last time I was offended.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to describe what being offended is, I think it's very different. I haven't heard a coherent description for it. The only example I can think of is when someone has done a spoiler for a film. That's the only thing I can think of that would be you feeling offended because the ending's been spoilt for you and it was unexpected.
I don't know what counts.
And then
as
that's just kind of evolved into social justice.
Yeah.
Is don't tell people the ending of The Sixth Sense, otherwise the society will kill you.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
I like some. I don't know.
How do you describe it? It's not anger.
The things that like
Betrayal.
I would potentially consider offensive are actually probably just disgust.
Disgust.
Like
Maybe
Justin
disgust.
Bieber. I'm offended by Justin Bieber. That's more disgust. I'm disgusted by him.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why, because the immediate reaction is that being offended is a bad thing, and my mental exercise is, well, what if it's a good thing?
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but it's a negative thing to experience. The same people say that hate is a negative experience, or all that kind of stuff, and you go, like, I'm a positive person. I always believe that hate is a positive motivator.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the best places, but it's still a motivator. It gets you into situations.
Yeah.
I guess. So yeah, I was trying to figure out, what would you do if you were offended? What's the positives out of offence? I just couldn't figure out what it was. So maybe a disgust. But if you're disgusted, then it'll...
Problems?
I'm on a desk. There we go. Sorted. Trying to figure out what offence is. I couldn't quite figure... Yeah. So the only thing I could think of is it started off with The Sixth Sense. And people were like, don't tell me the ending. And then they got told the ending and they were disgusted, betrayed with all that. But have you ever had a film ruined and you've been like, oh, now that you've told me the ending, I can't enjoy the film? Because I think that's a big difference.
Okay, so I've definitely said that a bunch of times, but I've still watched it. I think it's that you now can't appreciate it in the same way that person was allowed to.
Yeah.
Who didn't know.
Maybe, but then the same way that if you've seen a Quentin Tarantino film, you've got an idea of what the film's going to be like.
Yeah.
And someone who hasn't seen a Tarantino film would have a completely different experience of it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, right?
Probably.
Just different people are going to interpret it in different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like I can't think of any. I guess it only applies to surprise ending films.
Yeah.
But like if you were told the ending to The Usual Suspects, I'd still be like, that sounds like a really interesting ending. Let's give it a watch. But what people try to protect is that little moment of ooh. And if you remove that, they think you've spoiled it.
Well, so there's definitely.
And I wouldn't want to
don't
spoil
know.
the ending for anybody.
I don't.
But if the ending was told to me beforehand,
Yeah, I think
I'd still watch it.
It depends how into it you are. Like, ideally, you don't want to know what happens because you want to buy into the story fully. And
Particular stories, though, right? Like It's Always Sunny.
Well, no, because the same goes with sports.
But say like, no, but yeah, I mean, there was some amazing football this week, apparently. With some, I think Liverpool and Tottenham did some amazing Champions League games. I heard they're amazing. That's incited me to watch it.
Yeah.
Yes, it would have been different if you saw it going in. You had no idea what was going to happen. You have a little bit of a roller coaster journey. But think of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If the new series came out and I told you that, it turns out, Dee gets in a relationship with a pig and that's the big twist. Then it's like, that sounds interesting. I'll give it a watch.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's probably
that's
specific to certain stories.
The other side of it. So like, there's a lot of there's a bunch of different wrestling companies. I tend to keep up with one. If someone tells me the full details of something that's going on in another one, and by the way, this particular match and here's the finish and everything was fucking amazing, I would still go and watch it because it's been promoted in that way. The ending doesn't necessarily matter, as long as because you can't spoil the feeling of the story, in a sense.
Well, Fargo season 2. I think I've just realised.
Which one was season 2?
Season 2 was
spoilers,
like
spoilers,
70s,
but like,
I think.
And in the motel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ending to that was so amazingly delicious.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't tell anybody about it, and if somebody told me about it, I'd have a different reaction.
Yeah.
Same with Fargo season 3, as you'll know, because you probably would have watched it by now, because I've been telling you for about a year to watch it. Yeah, it's got some good moments in it. But it's just that little moment of ooh, or in Fargo 2, oh,
yeah,
or something like that. It's just those weird little moments you're trying to cherish, I guess, which makes sense. And if someone were to tell me the ending to it, and then I saw it, I might have been offended. I guess I might have felt disgust. But to feel it about people, you go like, well. It's the hierarchy of what you decide your values are.
Yeah.
Like I've said, if you believe that everyone is unique, then stop trying to make everyone the same.
Yeah.
And if you believe that everyone is unique, then everyone's a minority. So there's no minority that's more strong than any other minority because everybody is apparently unique, which I agree with. So you just go, if you treat everyone as an individual, then stop trying to put people into groups.
Yeah.
I mean, we had an email in this week, and I think it happened in the last couple of days, where a radio host, Danny Baker, who's like a comedy writer as well, he released a photo, and because a royal baby was born at some point.
Yeah.
And he released a black and white picture of two old-fashioned people walking a chimpanzee in a suit. And he was like, who cares? And I believe, I don't know the guy. I don't know much of his work. I think he did some Blackadder-y stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I might have seen him in the peripheral. But yeah, it didn't seem like he was saying, look at this mixed race child.
No, exactly. It's a massive...
It looks like, it's like you're being, this baby is being paraded in front of you as if it's news, just like this chimpanzee in a suit.
Yeah, it's the thing that pissed me off about that is that in order... You can... If you feel there's racial undertones, you have to be able to prove that he meant it like that in order for it to be offensive at all.
Yeah, and the problem is you can't prove it.
No.
And the thing is, you're choosing to put it in a box that people are going to then attach meaning to that box.
Yeah.
And be, now that's offensive. But you go, well, what is because it seems like the final solution to offensiveness is to lock it away in a camp or something, and then it's just to ignore it, is to put it away and to never let those things out of Pandora's box.
Yeah,
because that's what the end of the world is.
Yeah,
and you go, well, what if there's an idea for change, and it's just, what would you do with that? Like if you, there's like pain and stuff like that, because it was the same about all emotions were used to be put into a box and ignore them.
Yeah,
and now eventually we're kind of becoming more articulate and more openly communicative about stuff. I mean, like when I was growing up, I was told you should always forgive, and then you just go, well, all right, then if you touch a fire and it burns you, do you forgive the fire? No. Okay. Well, do you think some people might be as one-dimensional as fire, as in they're just toxic people? Yeah. Okay. So you shouldn't forgive those people. If you forgive a fire, you're going to burn your hand a lot. Forget about people. Just think about the fire. You're going to, right, that's a fire. It's going to burn my hand.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop doing it. And it's just a way of going, okay, well, what can I do to improve, to work with that and make that into a positive? I'll use fire to do other things. I just won't touch it and hold its hand, stuff like that. So it's making it an idea for change as to opposed to, fire's bad, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And make sure that nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's just like, or maybe Danny Baker is the fire. They're trying to say that he's this massive beast. Like, put him away. So it doesn't feel productive.
Well,
it feels censored.
It's not productive, and it's just not. It's not honest.
But it's just what is. I don't understand what the offence is.
It seems that the problem with all of this is it seems completely dishonest, because I've never found a single person who would be able to say in a situation like that, I believe he was being racist. Like, because I don't really think anybody does. I think they just draw a line and be like, well, that could mean this, that offends me.
But it's a weird thing. Is if it is racist, then it's like, well, racists can't work for the BBC. Okay, because it was a BBC show he was fired from.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but there's loads of other crimes that are happening in lots of different corporations. Do you think that those crimes shouldn't be allowed? And then you go, well, if racism is such a loose term as if somebody posts a picture of a chimpanzee, then therefore they're a racist. Then David Attenborough has been fucking wreaking havoc all over the world.
This is it's the same thing as the Count Dankula thing with the Nazi pug. It's like it's people saying that. Well, the judge said context doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's the danger of that shit. Is that in the whole Danny Baker thing, that's like, in order to be offended, you have to say that context doesn't matter, because you're completely disregarding how he meant it.
Well, then that means all chimpanzees are a symbol of racism. Exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, well, But instead of trying to understand why people are conditionally offended, which is impossible. Everyone's going to be offended by something, so everyone's always going to be offended. It's just, I'm just more interested. What do you do with it?
To be like, thinking about it, I think offense is just the act of broadcasting it. I think you can find something upsetting, but to be offended is the act of letting people know that you don't agree with this. Yeah.
But it's the people being offended by seeing imagery or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you go like, well, that's the thing that you need to tackle and control. Because it's the same thing as like, people don't want to be sad. Okay. But you need to recognize that actually sadness is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's part of a balanced emotional scale.
You can't experience one without the other.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to go to a sad place in order to express yourself in an emotional state that you're keeping locked away.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with offense. Sometimes you need to be offended by stuff to vomit out something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. Yeah. Is there an idea that anything offensive should not be seen? And I think that kind of feels like that's the way that it's going. Is if somebody can put a tweet up, which I think was for like 8 minutes, this tweet was up, and then it was taken down by him because he didn't think about it in that context. Is the story?
And then someone went, "Do you realise?"
Yeah, be careful,
like,
because
okay, fair enough. And then he took it down.
Yeah.
So it's like the act of fucking removing it is enough.
Yeah. So for 8 minutes, and he must have sent a lot of tweets. So let's be generous and say 20% of someone's tweets will have potentially offensive undertones.
Yeah.
That means that they need to be locked away.
Yeah.
And locked away is not in prison, but taken away from, unbroadcasted.
Particularly if there's someone that relies on humour, because humour is the whole idea of humour is to test boundaries. Like there isn't anything that's funny that isn't testing controversy in some way.
Well, there's definitely an argument. There's definitely an argument to be offensive, because offensive, as just as sadness, is a potentially beneficial emotion. I believe. I believe all emotional reactions are opportunities to learn about yourself and to express yourself in some way.
Yeah, that's like that one.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not a case of trying to not feel emotion.
Yeah.
Because it's a case of everyone should experience offense, everyone should experience sadness, everyone should experience terror, fear, paranoia, all these things, just in different amounts of doses. So it's not a case of putting it away forever. It's that it should be experienced by some people on some level. But yeah, it feels like it's trying to be swept under the rug. As like, no, because they did that, we're not going to let them broadcast anymore.
Yeah.
There's going to be a social justice to this.
Yeah.
And it just seems odd. It's like, well, why, is there a way to do something positive with it? And again, it's that deer in the headlights thing. For example, say there was a song. This is quite a popular one. Say there was a song that was played at a loved one's funeral.
Yeah.
And that song comes on in the car. Some people will have an emotional breakdown, an emotional release at that point. They'll be reminded of it, take them off guard, and they'll cry. And that's good because there's obviously still some emotion in you that you're trying to get out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people would argue that it feels like a similar argument to say, well, don't tweet things. Don't tweet that song anymore. Don't make me susceptible to hearing that song anymore because I don't want to cry because it changes my day. Well, you're not in control. I think that maybe that's the big thing. Is that there's a feeling of people need to feel in control, and so therefore they don't want to hear things that they don't want to hear. They don't want to see things that they don't want to see. They don't want to react in ways that they don't want to react.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're going to react in different ways. You're going to do that. I mean, I'm the same with Game of Thrones. I've talked about this. We went into it briefly before the podcast. But it's such a, I'm in a weird position because, well, we've had this discussion a few times where I've seen, I think, more Marvel films than you have. But you're like a bigger Marvel fan.
We've watched Captain Marvel now, actually.
Right.
So we just need to watch the new one.
What did you think of Captain Marvel?
It was alright. I wasn't like blown away with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I think that's a recurrent theme that I'm getting. So I think it might just be me getting older.
Yeah. And
just more bored. Where I'm just like, no, it's the same in Game of Thrones. Nothing is happening 90% of the time. Each conversation is a 10-second conversation that they stretch over 2 minutes. And you're like, I get it. You're trying to be dramatic.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting little look here, a look there. I'm over here. It's like, this show they've got
Acting by Nick.
And it's like some of it is an interesting. It's a universe, so there's meaning that you can kind of put into it and kind of dig out of it. But that was the key thing, I think, in the difference between The Last Kingdom and Game of Thrones, which I mentioned some time ago, is that The Last Kingdom is a story that's being told really well as a story, whereas Game of Thrones is a universe with lots of things happening, and you kind of make your own story. Yeah. As you kind of go and oh, what will happen here? What will happen there? And Last Kingdom was just like Fargo, just a really well told story that you're along the ride for. Yeah. And Game of Thrones is a bit more, is just in a different way. But especially the last season, because I remember liking the previous season being quite good, being quite interesting stuff going on. But this one, it just feels like they're just really fucking pulling it out. Yeah. Stretching it out as much as they can.
Well,
even
like
the big
20 now, aren't they?
Hour 20?
All the Game of Thrones episodes this season.
Oh, right, there's been a couple of longer episodes. But even like the big action scenes that they say they love is like, well, it's just nothing. They've got so many characters, they've then got to go and jump over here. And it's the equivalent of, and they don't do, people have said that they've done this, but it's like touching each demographic. And then being like, so what's happening in this, and what's happening in this, and what's happening in this at the same time, which means that you're just kind of being given information that is somewhat connected, but not really, it doesn't flow for me very well. Yeah. But it was and it was the same in Captain Marvel. There was lots of stuff that was just like, what the fuck is going on? And why are they doing all of this? Yeah. And why is this happening? And it was the same for me in Avengers Endgame, where just like the same problem with Game of Thrones, where it's like, let's see what Ant-Man's doing, and let's see what this person's doing.
Yeah, you get to a point where like the world is massive, and you need to find a way
they're just doing it. They're trying to give equal representation to everything. It was the same in Spider-Man 3, I think it was. Right. The first Marvel curse, where it was like they had Tobey Maguire going dark, and Venom, and something else. They had like 3 big storylines going on in the film. Sandman, I think, was in it. So it was like 3 films.
Was that the one with the dance?
Yeah, maybe. And it was like 3 films trying
down the street. Yeah. Everyone shit panned it for that.
Yeah, but it was just 3 films being put in the same film. And you're like, this is too. You're trying.
That one with
the
Sandman.
Working.
It's like you've wasted that character.
Yeah, it's just like you just wanted to have all these things happening. Yeah, but you go, well, what's the actual fucking story? Yeah, and then where's the it's not overwhelming. It's just underwhelming because you can't glue all those together in a good way. It's just, and that's how I feel about the big Avengers cast in the Endgame. Endgame was it? It wasn't called like Endgame Part 2. I'm thinking of Star Trek Voyager. Because that had two-parter of Endgame.
Yeah, there was Avengers, and then there was like Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
and then
Infinity War,
and
then this, and then this one.
this one.
And yeah, there was just so much being tried to do that you just go like, why the fuck? And then because you're trying to do so much, there's so many holes being formed.
Yeah.
Like there's a big political. There's a lot of political statements in Endgame. We just go like, because you've made this message, the rest of it, you're actually making the counter message. Like I'm trying to think of an example of like this is the moment where Ant-Man makes a cup of tea. Ooh, so you're saying that you couldn't make a cup of tea at any other point? It's like, no, but he can make a cup. Yeah, I know he can make a cup of tea.
Yeah,
but he hasn't before.
Yeah,
and so now it's a special point that he makes a cup of tea. So now you're saying that he wasn't making tea before. What are you trying? It's a weird trying to make something good, and then it's kind of like GCSE drama is my kind of go-to reference for.
Yeah,
this isn't thought through.
Now we walk around in a circle.
Yeah, blackout. There's chairs on the stage. Oh, they're used for different things. It's just But yeah, so we've had that with. There was a point there about how
was there?
I go to this. Yeah, the problem with Game of Thrones for me, why I watch it but I don't like it, is I love television and I love film. And the point I was trying to make there was, every time I say I've gone to see a film, you always go like, yeah, but you don't like that. Why have you gone to go see that? And it's like, I love film.
Yeah,
I love going to cinema. I love seeing films. I love the cinematic experience. I love watching television shows.
Well, yeah, but in that respect, you love music. You're not going to go to a One Direction concert.
No, but that's not music, is it? But
exactly.
But yeah, but it's still film. There's still film aspects of it. I just feel like it's done poorly, or like it's done mediocrely. Mediocrely. I wouldn't go see a terrible film. A film that I thought this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But I would go see a film that's like, it'd be interesting to see what it does. It'd be interesting to, the same way that you would listen to a band after hearing a band you like talk about them. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'll give them a listen, see what they're like. Oh yeah, kind of not, kind of ish. But yeah, I like the Marvel universe, so it makes sense to go into that. But yeah, it just feels like either I'm getting old or the whole world is wrong. It's one of those.
Yeah, and you're offended.
What do you do with that, Feds? What do you do with it? Yeah, just don't sweep it under the rug. It feels like Victorian pushing sexual urges under the rug.
Right.
I mean, we did an interview recently, which is purely just a test thing, and we talked about a few things. And one of the things was that I think made sense to me was people were arguing why there should be more that there should be more openly LGBTQ characters in the Marvel universe, and that did make it. And apparently, they're now really the Hulk is homosexual. Is what they're doing. Apparently, always been homosexual.
This is like the Gandalf thing. She did it as well.
Yeah,
didn't she? Like she's
JK
like, oh, he's
Rowling.
gay. It's like, well, how has that changed the story?
Yeah. Is that important to you? Why is it important?
It hasn't. It hasn't changed the story at all.
Yeah.
So it made no difference. So the fact that he's gay makes no impact. So you've done nothing for that community.
And again,
nothing.
it's a clash of values. Is homosexuality and race incredibly important to the point that you should segregate it in some way?
Yeah.
Like by having 20% this race, 20% that race, 20% this sexuality. Is it of that high importance, or should everyone be fucking equal and it doesn't matter what race or sexuality you are?
Yeah.
Because by actually trying to enforce segregation, segregation's a loaded word, obviously, but trying to enforce, what do they use in American History X? That's always a good film to go to for balanced group opinions. I did a philosophy paper on it. It was an interesting thing about how he makes good points, but he just does it in a bad way.
Right. Okay.
Because that's the point of the movie. But yeah, like enforced equality, where like the idea was they forced different ethnic minorities into positions over white people in order to enforce equality.
Right.
Equal. No, it was called something. It was called something that political. But it's doing that, and you go like, well, if you're doing that, then yes, everyone should be given the same opportunity. But should race be irrelevant, or should race be incredibly relevant? And I think, personally, it should be irrelevant. It shouldn't matter what colour your skin is, or what sexuality you are, or what gender you are, or any of that. What matters is the communication between you. So just stop trying to draw a wall between everything, and try and break it down instead. Game of Thrones, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Racism.
Yeah. Anyway, in the news this week, there's been some interesting stuff.
Okay.
Some vaguely interesting stuff. A Texas bartender is facing charges for serving a mass shooter before he went on a mass killing.
What?
It's her fault.
What?
Don't serve a mass murderer, to be mass murderer, tequila, because then you're a mass murderer as well.
Right. So if you were one of the people that walked by in the street and tipped Hitler while he was doing his street art,
yeah, you did that.
You're an accessory to genocide.
Yeah. Now, it does give a little bit more colour to it, but that's the thing that drew me to it. Lindsay Glass was charged with a misdemeanor for serving alcohol to Spencer Height the night he killed 8 people, including his ex-wife.
Okay.
What? Yeah, that goes on. I've only skim read it, so I'll read it as I'm going. She served the shooter in September 2017 at a local bar in Texas, where he appeared to be drunk and brandishing weapons. Okay, so maybe there's a little bit more. If someone's wielding an axe and they ask for a pint, should you give them a pint? I guess you could.
If you feel threatened, like if I don't...
It might calm him down.
Yeah. I would give him a pint
Chamomile
and
tea.
Call the police and be like, hey, he's here drinking a pint.
Yeah, well, she did call the police.
Okay.
Again, she's a criminal. After leaving the bar, Height, after wielding weapons, stormed into the home of his former wife, who was having a viewing party of a football game. He killed her and 7 others before dying in a police shootout.
With an axe?
I think it turned out to be a knife. I wish it was an axe. Everything's better if it's an axe. Okay. But I think it was a knife.
That's still not good. Killed 7 people with a knife.
People. Yeah.
You'd think like 7 people would be like, well, look, let's just all...
Yeah.
Would you not...
Well, there's
a knife.
There's the Chris Rock bit in Tambourine where he says, like, 3 people get killed by a knife. That's okay. 100 people killed by a knife. 97 of those deserve to die. Because, like, everyone other... Oh, he got stabbed. Oh, he got stabbed. He got stabbed. And now they got stabbed. Now I'm being stabbed. The game was just really good and they was really into it and they just didn't notice all the stabbings.
What?
That's me making a joke. Don't know how it happened, but his blood alcohol was more than 4 times the legal limit. And I don't think the legal limit's that much. The legal limit is like 2.5. It's like 2 pints ish, 1.5 pints to 2 pints. Okay. I'm assuming they mean the legal driving limit. You can't be illegal for being drunk.
No.
Lying
it's
down.
got to. It'll be for driving. Like so. Okay.
So like 10 pints maybe.
So, I will accept that she's culpable for charges if she would have been charged regardless of whether he killed anyone. Because maybe as a bartender, you have a responsibility to say, no, you've had enough.
Yeah, a legal responsibility, I guess.
Maybe. Like, it depends. I've definitely seen situations where the barman's just like, no, you're not having any more. And like, that's just like, that's the right thing to do.
But is it illegal? I guess it would be.
You have a responsibility to your patrons. Like,
Yeah, it'd be the landlord, wouldn't it? Be the landlord's responsibility to train them. I don't understand why she'd lose her job if she served an axe-wielding maniac.
Against the bar, not necessarily against the individual, I suppose.
Guess that's what it would feel like.
So if she'd have been charged regardless, I can be like, okay, I can see it. But if it's because he killed someone, like...
Well, this is the last week, police arrested Glass on a misdemeanor charge of violating the state's alcoholic beverage code, which says a person can be held liable for selling an alcoholic beverage to a
murderer,
to a habitual drunkard, and an intoxicated, or you can't serve alcohol to an intoxicated person. Again, where's the line? Or an insane person.
Okay.
You can't serve alcohol to the insane.
You have to be able to judge that.
Yeah, you don't get a badge when you're insane.
Like I'm quite I can be quite boisterous when I'm pissed, but I'm not like falling over all over the place. If I was just talking to the barmaid while there's like loud music on or something, they can't tell the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I've worked in bars and I have refused service to people.
Yeah.
And I have kicked people out for being insane. But like, yeah, it seems strange that yeah, I didn't know that you couldn't serve the insane. I didn't know that.
No.
And then is this guy insane? I don't know. You know, he did something not very sane, but that doesn't mean he's insane.
Yeah.
He's definitely drunk. He's definitely intoxicated. And I think she knew he had a knife because I think he was just flapping it around when she served him. But it seems a weird...
Okay.
person to prosecute.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we didn't get the guy because he died, but we've got the bartender that served him a mimosa. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, now the public can rest.
Yeah,
Easy.
she was responsible for... If he hadn't have had that last daiquiri, 7 people would have lived.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's what you're saying. But yeah, she called 911, so she did make an effort to try and to do it. Text that Glass sent that night about Height, so she texted her friends saying he was drunk and weird and psycho. So she knew he was a little bit dodgy, I guess, is what they're saying with that. The pub's lost its license to sell alcohol because of negligence. Don't serve knife-wielding maniacs. I guess makes sense. Yeah, they knowingly permitted Spencer Height to possess a knife over 5.5 inches on licensed premises.
So is that the limit over there?
I guess so. You can have a knife under 5.5 inches, maybe.
Because you can't kill someone with that.
Yeah.
Kill someone with a fucking razor blade.
So yeah, just be careful who you serve in bars. And yeah, because you might cause a mass killing.
Yeah.
Something to think on.
Yeah.
In other news, in other rational and not at all insane news, a 7-mile long bee corridor is being planted in London. A 7-mile corridor of bees. Well, it's like a flower bed. 7-mile long.
Okay.
That bees like. Bees like certain flowers, maybe.
Yeah.
7 miles to encourage more bees.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And you can't. And there's loads of people who love bees, and they say that bees are really important.
Yeah.
So I guess it could be good.
It just sounds very dramatic.
It just sounds like, why is it 7 miles long? How big a bee? How many bees do you want here? Like in Manchester,
the size of that bee.
Don't serve him. He's intoxicated.
Yeah.
He's wielding a stinger.
Can you tell me where the lavender is?
Just wasted bee slums around the outside. And then I think I read that bees they can travel like 5 miles or something to get honey, but they usually stay around a mile and a half.
To get pollen.
Yeah, so like they go like to and from the hive. It's on average they'll travel up to a mile and a half.
Yeah.
To pollen and then come back. So like around that 7-mile long corridor, there's just a circumference, a mile and a half circumference of the whole thing of bee. Will that drive house prices up or down? I don't know. It's a weird social impact of that much bees.
Just like, well, you have the constant drone of traffic. You have the constant drone of bees.
And then people are genuinely allergic to bees. So, like, you're just attracting death.
Assuming they get stung by them, though.
Yeah.
Like, it
but
takes
they're more
a lot
likely
to
to be
get
stung if
get
there's
a
a
bee to sting
7-mile bee colony.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all pissed off because it's like they're held up in traffic.
Yeah, unemployment goes through the roof because everyone's job is being taken by a horde of bees. Like, swarmed together to make a man in a coat. Working at the post office.
The worker bees have arrived.
What kind of stamp do I need for this?
Warehouse full of drones.
Yeah, a recent study blamed the decline of wildflowers as a factor behind the drop in pollinating insect numbers in the UK since 1980. Bees are so important for pollinating the crops that provide the food that we eat.
Yeah.
We must do all that we can to help them thrive. Yeah, in theory.
We had a bee in our lounge yesterday who just came down the chimney, like, out the fireplace. Like, it was like,
I was born in fire.
yeah. It's like, it just didn't seem to know where it was, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no flowers in there.
Yeah, I'm just here now.
Emerged from darkness in front of the TV.
Scouting ahead for a new 7-mile long corridor.
Tell me the way back to the B577.
Yeah. In other but relevant news, a new study reveals that wasps are largely disliked by the publics.
Oh!
This is brand new news.
Who knew that?
People do it, but apparently they're the most hated insect.
That makes sense.
But they do just as much for the environment as bees do.
Well, they do a lot. They kill off all the other insects that people don't like.
And they pollinate as well.
Yeah.
Apparently. I guess just by bumping
just
into
by
shit.
like being in places. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can do that.
Yeah, but What's the difference between a bee and a wasp then?
So, bees are wasps are carnivorous. They eat other insects and things like that. They have a straight sting, which means it can be used again and again and again. It just retracts.
To help further with the insect.
Yeah. Bees are very placid. They sting mainly to protect the queen. Most of them won't even sting to protect themselves.
Yeah.
But if they think you're a threat to the queen, which I like that there's a hierarchy in bees.
They've got their own currency. They're backed by the crown.
Don't go out on Sundays because church.
Yeah.
But,
Queen's speech every year.
And
but they only
bees
live for 2 weeks.
Bees feed on they sort of feed on pollen. They feed on honey, but they feed on they produce food from pollen, so they're vegetarians technically. So wasps are essentially pest control.
But yeah, so apart from making honey, if they both pollinate, say they both pollinate an equal amount, maybe there's some kind of disparity there, but they also help with pest control, same as spiders. Yeah. It's just people don't like them because they're annoying.
Yeah, and there's more chance that they'll actually sting you.
Yeah.
But again, it's like yeah, and the thing, it's because it tends to be at the end of the season when they're looking for food and they're starving and they're just desperate. That's when people get stung. And this time of year doesn't really happen. But unless you sit on one or some shit like that, because then they will fuck you up.
But yeah, can you get killed by a wasp? Are people allergic to wasps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way, yeah. It's a different kind of venom. So I think that one uses a venom that's an alkali and one uses one that's an acid.
For God's sake, Steve.
What?
Why do you have to word it in these ways?
What?
Have you looked this up at any point? This is how scum came about, Steve.
I had to know because I looked it up last time I was stung to figure out how to relieve the pain. They said if it was this thing, use vinegar. If it was this thing, use soap.
Soap.
Yeah, soap's an alkali. You use
Clean
one
away the pain.
to neutralise.
Fair enough. You couldn't just be in pain for a bit like the rest of us.
No, I was.
Yeah, but you could have been.
I was
in more
looking
pain.
it up for the next time.
Next time, I'm going to carry a soap and vinegar whenever I go apple picking.
To be fair, I think I've been stung. The last time I was stung was 10 years ago, maybe. But before that was all the bees.
Right.
So it's helpful for me to know through fear. Yeah.
Now you wash with soap.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the
as opposed to vinegar.
In a survey, participants were asked to rate insects on a scale which ran from -5, representing a strongly negative emotion, to +5.
Yeah.
Bees got a +3 or above, whereas wasps got a 3 or below.
Yeah.
So just hated wasps.
It's flies that piss me off.
Yeah.
Just because they're just
signed to get your life together.
They're fucking everywhere and they're relentless. They just so it's midnight. One of them's gotten into your house. You can't catch it because it's just a bit too quick, and it just never stops until it dies. It just constantly fucking buzzing and flying about. It's a pain in the arse. It's an irritation.
Moths sound more annoying than flies.
Oh,
to me.
fuck me,
but
man.
people freak about moths.
I found some fucking weird shit when we were doing our garden. There's this species of moth that has a red cocoon that it plants or lays or whatever next to the root of weeds. Right. So you're digging them up and you find this weird fucking pulsating red cocoon. It just looked like a pebble, and I picked it up and it all just started fucking moving. Fucking hell. I thought it was like a hornet or some shit like that. Right. But it's apparently this species of moth that lay their shit underground and then they hatch from the earth, which makes sense. When you think moths come out at night, so they're somewhere damp and loamy and kind of dark.
Damp and lonely. The night is lonely and damp. Oh, okay.
Whereas butterflies are just I like sunshine, so they hang it from trees and plants and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
We had maybugs at uni, which apparently are a really specific thing. It's half beetle, half moth or something, specific to Alsager.
Oh, right.
That's it was just giant, more hardened skinned moths roaming the place that freaked everyone out.
Oh, right. Okay.
But yeah, people freak. Loads of people got phobias of moths that I've encountered. Seems odd.
Yeah, I find
the sound annoying.
Yeah,
more annoying.
It's when they get trapped in light shades and things just like, Jesus, fuck.
Yeah, it's more of like a flaky flap
Yeah,
that kind of freaks people out.
They're annoying, but again, it's because they're erratic and you just can't get rid of them. I never managed to catch moths without killing them because they're just too fucking delicate.
Well, yeah, do you believe you should kill flies?
No.
No?
Like, I try not to. Like, I usually... The thing with shit like that is that you just pinpoint the light source, try and open... If it's a window or something, shut all the other ones off, and generally they'll fuck off out.
Yeah.
So, like, I try not to kill anything.
So is that a... Sorry, that was a stifled laugh. So is that is that because, you don't believe you should kill anything, or it's just too much work?
If there's no reason to, I don't see the point.
Fair enough.
Something else can eat that.
Yeah.
And will.
But you're happy to like uproot its life and move it away from its loved ones.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know that existed.
Oh no! Without them, say there was an ant colony in your room.
Oh right, okay.
You'd be like,
oh no, that's like
you're like, just go separate them out from their families, put them on a train, send them to Poland somewhere.
Yeah.
Just like you're happy doing that.
I'd build the ant corridor.
Get them out. Yeah.
No, ants are a pain in it. Is it coming up to like Flying Ant Day? Has that happened yet?
I always thought that was a weird because I only ever experienced it in my garden.
Yeah.
So I always thought I haven't seen it since I was a kid. But like there was like proper like you couldn't see for ants.
Yeah, no, it's every year it happens around here. It's around about the same time they all start releasing the pheromone, and then they're just like, oh yeah, fucking, it's fly time, and then they all fly off.
Just fly around and fuck everyone up.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And birds get pissed off them.
Birds get pissed off flying.
Well, they've got this kind of acid that's like folic acid or something like that, and it does the same shit as alcohol does. And there was this I read it. I think I did it a while ago. There's like these seagulls that eat them and get absolutely fucking smashed out their brains, and then they're just wandering around the sea being abusive, like
not wearing sunscreen.
Yeah,
getting violent,
eating people's chips.
But yeah, wasps. The most common word used to them were sting, annoying, and dangerous. Whereas bees are probably like bumbly.
yeah. I like bumblebees.
But they pollinate flowers, kill pests. So they're just as important as bees.
Very helpful. But
they've had a
people
bad
don't
PR.
see them like that. Yeah. Well, because they hurt people.
Yeah, apparently they don't like sugar. But if you're at a picnic, they'll go over the sugar. They'll like be around it because that's usually where insects go.
Right.
So this kind of a misinterpretation of it's all
that
around the
makes
jam.
sense.
They're not eating jam.
Yeah.
They're just looking for insects.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
In other news, France.
Yeah. Bastards.
15 sheep have been signed up as the latest recruits at a primary school to prevent it from closing down.
I don't think they'll learn anything.
No. They were just declining pupil registration. So the government was like, well, there's a limit to how many pupils you need to have. So we've got sheep now, so that kind of works.
Fill in the blank. Bar black sheep.
Yeah.
Have you any?
Hey,
Bar.
Don't say my race. Don't identify my race.
Yeah. Bar.
Everyone looks at Derek.
Multi-ethnic sheep. Bar.
Yeah. The move came after the school in Crête-en-Belledon. This isn't how you say it. I just find it funny to say it that way. A village at the foot of the Alps was told one of its 11 classes would be closed after numbers fell from 266 to 261. They lost 5 students, and a whole year was going to be erased.
Jesus Christ.
I guess they were already quite low.
So
then they've lost another 5.
Yeah. We have a solution. Sheep.
Work. On Tuesday morning, a local herder and his dog came to school. I don't think the dog enrolled. With some 50 sheep. 15 of whom were registered after showing their birth certificates. Well, have you got your birth certificate?
So they could apply for a passport.
Yeah, they can travel the world. Now we don't have to close any classes. One pupil, Barbette, and another, Soute Mouton, a sheep equivalent of Leapfrog, was watched by children, parents, and teachers. Look at how intellectual and competent we are as a school. I guess it's cheating, fighting the power.
Well, they can teach these sheep. I trust them to teach my child.
That sheep's a doctor now.
Bah.
Laval, who I think runs the school, I'm assuming, one of the parents behind the initiative, Laval, said he had used humour to mobilise people to tackle the miserable situation. 5 kids we don't have 5 kids for our class today. What a miserable situation. The only thing that can solve this is sheep.
Yeah, 50 of them.
Yeah, and
Or
only
however
15
many it
got
was.
in.
15.
So there's like they brought 50,
Yeah.
but only 15 enrolled. So the other 35 were just they weren't qualified, or they didn't have like valid birth
What's the
certificates.
entry requirements? So what we're saying here is 1 child is worth 3 sheep.
Yeah, because 5 they lost 5 pupils.
That's
and
how
they gained
dumb
15
kids are
sheep.
in France.
They've got the brain power of 3 sheep.
Because sheep are pretty thick.
Yeah. Well, they know what a fence is. I just don't feel that's a good measure
And
of
a dog.
intelligence. I saw a horse eating a tree the other day. I was like surprised that it was a tree like over the
I think that's
next
stupidity. I think that's just confidence. I can eat this.
fence. Fuck keto. I'm eating bark. No, but like it was a tree next to a road and the fence was in between. I was like, why doesn't the horse just like jump over the fence and eat this tree? And it's like, oh, it knows this is my fence.
Yeah.
Can't go any further.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
rationalised its own
It
existence.
understands life inside the fence. I get this. I'm comfortable with this.
On the other side, you've got like Black Beauty was here scrawled into a banister like fucking Shawshank Redemption.
And no one's seen him since.
Life outside wasn't the same. In other news, R. Kelly failed to respond to his lawsuit because he can't read.
It just goes on.
That was their defence why he didn't respond to being summoned to court or something like that.
Can't
The
read.
lawyer was like, well, he can't read.
But you can write.
Maybe he can write rap lyrics. Maybe you can read
that
rap
not
lyrics. I guess it is. Yeah, but maybe like if that's the only language you can write in and read. I guess maybe. The singer did not reply to legal documents because he's illiterate. Well, then if you're illiterate, what do you do with your post? Give it to someone.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, don't text me, don't
Yeah.
email me, don't post anything to me.
Yeah. Have no contact. You can call me on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just at least have his
How do you
legal
pay your
documents
bills?
sent to
You
his
gotta
lawyer.
read out your credit card information every time? Can't do that.
But send the legal documents to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Send the billing payments to his business manager or
Yeah.
accountant or something.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's just a stupid... Well, I couldn't read it, so
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Well done.
You're still going to prison?
Yeah, you still need to come to court, I
Yeah.
guess.
You're still a paedophile?
I was read my Miranda rights, but I can't read,
Yeah.
so technically I can't. That's a weird law, isn't it? You have to be told... You have to be... A monologue has to be performed to you in order for you to be validly imprisoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird little amateur dramatics thing that happens before. You need to sit through my latest script.
But that's how things go, man. Like the more you
So
think
what?
about it, it's just another part of ritual. It's like marriage is this big thing, but it's really it's a public performance.
Yeah. But just for a negative as well. Like, what if if you don't hear your Miranda rights? Are you not arrested?
Yeah. I'm deaf. No, you're not.
But just what if they screw up one of the lines? Oh, he didn't. They missed out the third paragraph. They didn't they truncated it too much. So therefore, I didn't murder all those people.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's try it again. Take 2.
Yeah.
This time with more Gary Busey.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had an image of Gary Busey. In other news, a methamphetamine addict has had holes drilled into his skull and electrodes inserted into his brain to treat him with deep brain stimulation.
Well,
I've got
we've
an
tried
addictive
everything
personality. Might as well put holes in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's basically saying the benefits of deep brain stimulation, DBS. And the only thing that I've heard about that is what Neil Brennan's talked about, which is like magnetic waves transmitted into your brain to stimulate growth of different parts of your brain that help alleviate stuff like depression and stuff like that. But I never thought it was like drilled in and then electrodes put inside.
Yeah.
From what he's described of the situation, it's literally it's like you sit in like an X-ray it's for a little while, for like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And they've had like intravenous magic mushroom LSD treatments for people.
Yeah.
To kind of help
you
with
see
brain
that
stuff.
Denver's just legalized mushrooms.
Yeah, it would have been strange if they didn't.
Yeah.
It would have been an interesting because obviously they were the first to legalize marijuana.
Yeah.
And for them, if they were to turn around and say, "Well, not mushrooms," it'd be like that's weird. So it makes sense that they've
where
done
you
it.
draw
It's
your
good
line.
that they've done it.
Yeah.
One of I brought up that we did the interview because I was wanted to talk about something briefly, which is somewhere around the same thing. Which was there's no not enough Marvel homosexual characters or LGBTQ characters, and there was a discussion we had briefly about there are some, like Russia has these countries, and Marvel had it for a little bit in the 50s or something, where any content containing any LGBTQ subject matter was age restricted to like 16 or 18 plus.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that was kind of like, oh, one, it was funny. It's funny because it's laughable to think of that's how fearful you are of an idea, of a discussion about something. But it raised a valid point of like, I think that's where stuff like racism and homophobia lives, is in preventing people from talking about it.
Yeah.
And then ironically, that's kind of what people are doing to tackle it with stuff like racism, is to sweep them under the rug and kind of have it in the air. And you go like, no, if you're afraid of talking to a child about something, like I can't understand anything that would be like that. I mean, I grew up in quite a Victorian household where like we never discussed a lot of things, but for a principle of like not talking about war or sexuality or something, if a child asks you a question, obviously previous generation been like, we don't talk about that, don't talk to me that way, whatever. But I remember I asked my dad when I was young, because it came up on The Simpsons, about what impotence was. He was so uncomfortable, like he was like, go read it in a dictionary.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't be asked.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me? And he was like, it was uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable talking about it, which again is kind of like previous generation.
Yeah.
A thing. And you go like, well, that's only going to be more enforced the more you're told not to expose children to certain things.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything a child shouldn't be exposed to? Apart from yourself?
Not until they drop the charges. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just having tact. I mean, I didn't.
But you develop that, because what tact is you're developing a good way of communicating.
Yeah.
A cleaner way, a more sterile way of communicating.
Yeah.
And you only get that by having more communication, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I never.
Death's a big one, isn't it? Like, don't tell them that the dog's died or the fish has died or grandma's died.
Right. Yeah.
And
there's definitely been like moments kind of in my life where like that topic has kind of been avoided. But then it's kind of hit and miss. Like with certain relatives, it's when they passed away, it's been very upfront. Yeah. Like we've had the news that blah 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 has died or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not. I don't think my parents ever actively avoided telling me anything.
There's a difference between,
particularly not when I asked them.
Yeah, I think that's a big difference. If the child asks about something, then they're asking because they're curious. Yeah. So why not talk to them about it? There's a difference between that and just today's Tuesday. Today's the day you learn about mass genocide. You know, it's just. If they ask about it, then they have that conversation with children. Yeah. But there's a weird relationship between parents and children.
I remember watching, I think it was an episode of Blackadder, and the one it's the one with Flash with the woman that dresses as Kate. She dressed as a bloke in order to work for Blackadder.
Right. Yeah.
And her dad says I wanted you to be a prostitute. And I didn't know what a prostitute was. So I was like, Mom, what's a prostitute? And she said, it's a woman that sells her body. I was like, okay. And I just pictured like just limbs, like, here you go. Yeah. Like, because as a child, this was before I knew anything about sex. So, I never questioned it until later on in life where I was just like, oh, okay, that's what she meant by that.
Well, like, say like gay marriage was a big thing. It was going to confuse children. Yeah. And it's like, children believe that once a year a rabbit arrives from another dimension and gives you eggs made of chocolate. Yeah. They believe that an old man lives on ice. Yeah. And travels the world. Like, they're not going to be confused. Yeah. By some by anything, because they can easily make sense of it.
The only way you would you'd be able to say, well, that might confuse them or distract them from what I want them to grow up to be, is if you believe that being gay is a choice.
Well, just even without that, I think about,
if you don't think it's a choice, then you've got no concern.
Well, say some parents they have plans for their children's careers. Yeah, I've never met anybody like this, but they exist in culture. Where it's like, my son's going to be a lawyer, my daughter's going to be a doctor, whatever. And so and there will be some people who will try and manipulate that career by like, don't expose them to music. They're playing the guitar. Stop.
Yeah.
You need to focus on this.
Right.
So if that's the parenting style that you think, then the more questions your children ask, the worse, because they'll ask about things that are unrelated to your dream.
Yeah.
Which is like, you go, well, that's just a discussion about parenting.
Yeah.
But in terms of society as a whole, we should be encouraging more communication.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to stifle it the same way
What's the
sweeping
thing? Like,
chimpanzees.
if you as a parent accept that your place in your child's life is to make them as well-rounded a person as possible, then you can either raise a child to do the things that you want them to do, or you can raise them to be not naive. Because the only way to raise them to do exactly what you want them to do is to shield them from things.
Yeah. Well, they say that like
that will put them into a life where they're completely ignorant to certain things, and so things will completely catch them off guard when they experience them for the first time.
Well, and they won't. There was an argument about this about fighters, like being told not to try different arts or anything like that. It's like, let's focus on this one thing. So, and the more well-rounded you are, the more you can bring to the table when it comes to that specific field.
Yeah.
You might not be as book smart about it because you spent some of your reading time reading other things.
Yeah.
But everything's kind of related, and it will make you more rounded as a person.
Yeah. You have a choice of like, do you want your child to be free, or do you want them to be useless? Yeah. Like, you can't have you can't have it both ways.
Well, anyway, this guy got holes drilled in his head to help his addiction. He said the drill was like bzzz, said the patient. He said that the moment of drilling is the most terrible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, well, it's not the best part. The pre-drilling might not have been as bad as the actual drilling.
Yeah, I found out you've got no nerve endings in your brain, so like you can feel things like on your skull, but once you're actually in the brain, there's no pain there or anything.
Yeah. But I guess they weren't drilling through the brain.
No. They'd just be like at certain points, so you contact with the surface, I guess. But you wouldn't actually be able to feel it touching your brain.
Yeah. Well, they got people playing guitar when they've got their brain on. Brain surgery.
Oh, so they can...
Yeah, to make sure they don't fuck up anything.
Yeah.
That's why they do all these, like, what's this image? It's a cat. What's this? And they make them do puzzles.
But some people, they hand them a Gibson and be like...
Yeah. Well, musicians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been semi-productive. I mean, last week we did a shout-out for Ragbag. Yeah. Which I think worked out. We enjoy accepting sponsorship money.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if we're not
still waiting on that.
I've got it. I won't read out anything until I've been paid. So basically, this everything. But they had replied to their shout-out because they weren't 100% happy with how it went. Okay. The problem with Ragbag is it's a great podcast. The host is just not that good. So it's just the chemistry of it is kind of confusing sometimes. So he wanted us to play a little reply. Okay. Which will play once my laptop decides that it wants to play it. Oh, or it will play once I unmute my actual computer. Okay. So I'll try this. It might work.
Hey guys, Frank Burton here. Thanks for doing the shout out for the Ragbag podcast. Bit of a shame about your palpable lack of interest in it. Also, thanks for pointing out the negative reviews. Some people actually like it. One chap on SoundCloud actually thought it was, and I quote, quite good. He's deleted his account since then, so no evidence exists that actually happened, but just take my word for it, right? Obviously, I misunderstood the nature of your show. Obviously, you're not dentists. No. You've gone with the two blokes talking to each other format. I see. How very original of you.
As opposed to one bloke talking to himself.
Pulling teeth. I'd rather pull my own teeth out than listen to you. Also, I watched the YouTube version, and because you're both bearded, I can't tell you apart. It's very confusing. One of you have a shave, please.
Okay.
Please.
You like that? I'm just trying to get a bit of beef going for publicity purposes, you understand? Let me know what you think of that idea.
Beef.
Might be mutually beneficial. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, you both bald and you both got beards. I can't tell you apart. That's original. What if we were both black?
Well, yeah, we like the two people talking to each other kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, he talks to nothing. He talks to nothing.
Yeah, and takes glee in that.
Yeah, for about 20% of his show. The rest is music that he doesn't do anything with.
That he doesn't make.
No.
So he's only 20% of the talent of his own show.
We're 50%. Okay. But yeah, it's still a good podcast. It's just difficult working with other podcasters sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just obviously he's a bit of a
Twat.
he's confused by. Well, I always find that I'm definitely the more aggressive, more hate-filled bastard, but I'm just more diplomatic in many ways.
Yes. Yeah. You're better at reaching out to people.
But yeah, a little bit of beef, a little bit of rivalry is always a bit of fun. I'm just always really wary about unleashing that angry gorilla demon because some people just won't quite understand it.
I have no tact.
No, and tact, as we agreed, was communication
It
skills.
stops racism.
Sweep that chimpanzee under the rug. But yeah, we like doing shout out stuff. I'm glad that he enjoyed the thing, even though he thought we don't like his podcast at all.
Yeah, that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I do enjoy his podcast.
We do enjoy the podcast. We do
I
listen
love
to
the music
podcast.
part of it.
Yeah, it's just the talking bit, the personality bit, and the host bit that we're just kind of.
Yeah, but luckily
Against.
that's only 20% of his show.
Yeah, and it's not just him in the show. I mean, just Frank Burton as a person. A lot of people don't know this, but Lenny Henry was briefly in a wheelchair.
Okay.
At Euston State, he was doing some kind of promotional thing for Comic Relief.
All right.
And Frank Burton went down there specifically to spit in his face. And I don't believe that that's a good use of time. He could have done a lot more different things than spit into a national treasure's disabled face.
Yeah.
But if that's the thing that you want to do in your spare time, Frank, go ahead. I mean, just keep on sending us money, and we'll keep on promoting your podcast, which hasn't got as big a following as ours.
Yeah.
And ours doesn't have a big following.
No, man. If someone showed me like two pictures, one of like a man and woman walking a chimpanzee, and one of Frank Burton spitting in Lenny Henry's face, and said which one is more racist,
Yeah.
I'd go with Frank Burton.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, even just by saying Frank Burton, I mean, isn't Burton's like a clothesline, and clotheslines were used to hang people. What's it called? What do you hang? Lynching.
Yeah.
Frank Burton is famous for lynching. So
It's where you go to buy your first suit because you're not a grown-up yet.
Yeah. Sorry, I quite like that one. It's like the idea of Frank Burton purposely going through life not prepared, not ready, just like, I'm going to do a podcast and a shout out. It's not going very well.
Which is rich coming from us.
But yeah, fun little bit of rivalry to see where it goes. It's going to be a constant test of where I draw the line. So it'll be interesting. I think spitting in Lenny Henry's face is all right. If he was up for it and it was for comic relief, fine. But he did it out of spite. He spat out of spite.
Yeah.
And that's where I pass a little bit of judgment on him.
That's fair enough.
But listen to his podcast. Just, if you can, every time you listen to it, just send him some hate mail at the same time.
Yeah.
And say it's from us.
We do.
Yeah. We do. Yeah, meet up for a drink and give him a slap in the face.
Yeah,
That's how
good
it
stuff.
goes. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he had loved ones.
Anymore.
Well, in the first place.
Oh, right.
I imagine he was not so much born as just ripped out of a brick wall covered in shit. Just a homeless man just grabbed a brick, pulled him out, and there was Frank Burton.
Fair enough.
Devoid of personality.
With a
and
pair of
charm.
headphones and a microphone.
Yeah, and other people's music and talent.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when I improvise. It just goes like, I don't think this is appropriate.
I think it's very appropriate.
Weak! But yeah, all fun and games. Genuinely, Ragbag's a fun podcast. We still listen to it, so yeah, we'd encourage our listeners to.
And that's
to
the
listen
last
to it.
time we'll be saying that.
Yeah, officially, we've promoted it positively twice, so now we can only promote it negatively. We've got to promote it negatively twice to balance out the universe, to keep the story from being swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's me for this week. I think.
Fair enough. Yeah. Just this week.
Steve's collection of useless meanderings. Scum.
Yeah. Maurice Sendak. His classic book, Where the Wild Things Are, was supposed to be titled Where the Wild Horses Are, but he realised he couldn't draw horses.
I can draw things.
Things.
Coincidentally, that was the #1 selling book in the 90s.
Was it?
I think so.
I didn't know it at all until the film came out.
I don't know what it
and
is.
then apparently everyone's like, oh, it's massive. Same as Gruffalo.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've never heard of the Gruffalo? I was like, no. I had Mr. Men.
I just had swear words. I would just read swear words. Like
This week on swear words.
Go fuck yourself. No, I used to read like adult books about detectives that had crimes in it, and I'd just be like, oh, there's a swear there as well. It's weird that they were stored at my primary school.
Sick.
in like the advanced reading section. There was like 3 buckets of
Advanced
books.
reading is only 4 letters.
Well, there was 3 buckets of books in year 1.
Buckets.
Yeah.
Welcome to
Welcome to school.
to our library. 3 buckets of books.
No, just in the classroom.
Oh right.
Just in the corner, 3 buckets of books, and like there was like for different learning abilities. So it was
Right.
like the most basic, intermediate, and then advanced.
And then the most advanced one is on a shelf.
Can you reach the shelf? It was in a purple bucket, and I was like, oh, purple. But yeah, that was just like just weird, dark, horrifically like Bravo 20, which isn't that horrific.
Oh,
but like all advanced
what's
stuff
his
like
name?
that. Andy McNabb.
Yeah, so
Which is where I get a lot of my
primary school.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I read that in primary school, and then these weird like dirty detectives, covering up murders and corruption.
Yeah.
And it was just all like, yeah, fuck this guy. Who's a swear word in here? And I'll just read that and be like, I haven't got any friends. But they'd be like, it's all good. I had friends.
Had. Past tense.
Sorry, I just heard a bee. I was like,
Yeah.
The corridor's coming.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Oh.
Yeah.
This I thought was quite interesting. The highest grossing single unit independent pizzeria in the US is the Moose's Tooth Pub Pizzeria in Anchorage, Alaska. Its annual sales are approximately $6 million, which means if you can do anything kind of well, do it in Alaska.
Yeah.
Because you'll make a shit ton of fucking
Well,
money.
there's probably not that much
There's
competition.
nothing there. There's no competition. No, like Pizza Hut's not like, let's go to Alaska. Fuck that
Yeah.
shit. It's so fucking cold.
Well, I guess as well, it's probably like a community. It sounds like a community pub
Yeah.
restaurant place, and like if people are always going in there, then I guess they're
So
making
let's podcast in Alaska.
money. It might not work for podcast. Give it a go.
Yeah. Well,
That's
we
gonna
make
be a fun
no
place to
money
go.
here. So if we can make 6 million times no money.
There's people coming in asking for a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And listen to the podcast. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we could form a competition
Yeah.
with a pizza.
Yeah. Moose.
A New York University study found that people with easier to pronounce names have higher status positions at work.
I was thinking about this the other day actually because I started watching. I watched Star Trek. I haven't really watched the original series, and so I started watching it, and it's difficult to watch just because of it's aged. But like the original captain was called Chris. I was like, the fuck? Oh, Captain Chris? No.
Wait, what show was this?
Star Trek. The original Star Trek. Captain Kirk.
Chris.
The pilot episode had a different cast, had a slightly different cast.
Yeah.
They had a different doctor and a different captain, and the captain's name was Chris, and it was Chris something, and it was like, "Come on, Chris, you can't be doing this." It was like, "What the fuck?"
Chris Kirk?
No, Chris something, like Chris Weinbach or something. I don't know. But they kept on calling him Chris. It's like, okay, fair enough. Like, it was a pilot episode. Stuff changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't take a captain seriously if they're called Chris. So I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Or
Captain
Frank.
Chris. Captain Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Burton. Or some amalgamation of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's a lot in a name.
Yeah, I think the problem is that people will equate it to racism as opposed to approachability. Like
A name.
Well, like the lack of complicated names in high positions.
That's racism.
Yeah, when actually it's just like, well, it's
President Gary.
Someone being able to remember your name, like, is such a massive thing.
Yeah.
And further in the study, they said that this generation of Asian Americans, you'll find a lot of them are just called like Kevin or Arthur or something,
Right.
because
It's more
they're
socially integrated.
Yeah, because their parents didn't want them to feel kind of like outcasted from their classmates, and they actually found their name made a massive difference,
Yeah.
regardless of what they looked like.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
My name, I'm still unsure about. Nick Snip. Like, in terms of a stage name. I've had some people say it's a great stage name.
Yeah.
And because it is quite memorable, but it just feels like it's finished. Welcome to the stage, Nick Snip. And here he is.
Yeah.
I got told, I posted in a podcasting from like, oh, that's a great audio editor name. You should be an audio editor. It's like, it's weird that my career path has already been chosen. It's already been laid out because of my name.
Yeah.
I always thought I'd be a moil, which is a tool used for circumcising babies. This was my
Nick Moyle.
Yeah, just Nick Snip. Oh, he's the Moyle guy.
Yeah.
I think the Moyle's that chisel or whatever it's used. I can't remember. Or the
Chisel.
Yeah, they chisel off foreskin in some religious communities.
Brutal, man.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think the Moyle is the specialized surgeon who does that. And
Right.
the other weird thing is they kiss the penis afterwards
Yeah.
to
Yeah, nothing weird
bless
about
it
that.
or clot it or something.
Nothing strange about that at
Ceremony,
all.
is it? Yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of odd. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's a lot in a name. Is what we're saying.
There is, yeah. Speaking of names, the Beatles album Abbey Road was originally going to be called Everest, but none of the Beatles wanted to fly to the Himalayas.
Purely because of the album cover.
Yeah.
They're like, well, why don't we just do it outside?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Apparently, yeah.
Do you care about Everest?
In what,
Just
like
in
in my
general.
day-to-day life?
Yeah, like there was a
wonder
news
how
article.
Everest is doing.
There was an article I cut out this week, which was like a rugby team people have broken the world record for rugby up on the highest point, and some people played rugby at Everest, and I'm like, I don't care. That's in any way. So what? Everest is high up. People go there for the sport of it. I understand, but you could probably make a good pizzeria in Everest. But who cares?
Yeah. Lots of dead people on Everest.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of dead people there.
And at the bottom of Everest as well. It's kind of tumbled down.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, never really cared about it.
No, I was like,
So maybe that would have been the downfall. Maybe they wouldn't be as big as Jesus if they went to Everest.
like I don't get. So like I can understand like the achievement in like running a marathon at this point or something like that, but there's no part of me that's just like, imagine if I could say I've climbed Everest. I don't honestly think anyone in my life would care.
Well, I used to tell people that Brian Blessed climbed Everest, and people just point blank wouldn't believe me.
I think you've told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I also said he wasn't dead. And people were like, no, he's dead.
He's not dead.
No, he's not dead. He's not dead, and he climbed Mount
There he
Everest.
is. Hello!
And yeah, I think he climbed Mount Everest. It's like people are like,
Yeah.
no.
I never looked
Alright,
it up.
fair enough.
I just took your word for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's done it a few times. He's done a lot.
I do it every day.
Well, something about I think he's got all these weird traveling stories. I think like one of them was he went. Was it when like you go on a? They do it in Venice a lot. That was me.
Oh.
Sorry. You do. I forgot to remute my laptop. You go. You get it in Venice a lot, where they got a canoe and they like got a big stick and they push you.
Gondola. Yeah.
He had an orangutan driven gondola in a jungle. He was like, "Wasn't it great?" Like,
All right, Brian.
So there's a lot of personalities that I don't know whether I'd react to positively or negatively in person.
Yeah.
It's like Ricky Gervais has got like a lot of people. I love his work. His work's really good, but I get the impression that I wouldn't get on with him.
No.
But it depends what mood both people are in. I think people can get on with everybody unless they're in conflicting moods.
Yeah.
And if I was irritated already and somebody was being in an irritating mood, no matter who it is, it's gonna clash.
Like I agree with a lot of the things that he thinks when they're succinct, but he seems like one of those people that's like, the more kind of long form stuff that you listen to him, like long form interview or just long form conversation, the more I actually think he's probably a lot dumber than people think he is.
I don't know.
I think a lot of people have that. I'm not talking highly of myself at all. Like that's.
No, I just find that I think there's always someone who's always a bit more
people seem to treat him like he's this sage of kind of political correctness.
Yeah.
And I'm
just because he has made some politically correct stands. So I guess it's kind of people's going.
And it's fine. I agree with that point, but I still think you're an idiot most of the time.
Well, there's certain personalities. I think the reason that he's got I think it happens naturally in lots of groups of people where they work well together is when they complement each other's personalities.
Yeah.
And if you have two people who are the same, then it can either clash or it can improve things.
Yeah.
In certain ways. So I think you kind of find that equilibrium. So equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
Yes. So yeah, there's some people I think my personality wouldn't work well with sometimes.
Yeah. I've got 7. But I usually only do 5. Maybe I should pick one.
Okay.
I'll do this one. The Russian language has a similar proverb to necessity is the mother of invention that literally translates to poor people are crafty.
Is that complimentary? Because they're all about everyone being of the same equal economic state.
Are they communists?
Russia?
They're not communists, are they?
Aren't Russians?
They're a
communists?
democracy in quotation marks because there's still an election in quotation marks, but it's
They were-
Putin or Putin in
were-
quotation marks.
But they were famously communist, right? I think.
Yeah,
Like
under
Second
Stalin.
World War. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, well,
And
maybe that's saying
a lot of
was
that
also-
attitude hasn't really faded, but it's just over with a sheet of
Yeah, they've
democracy.
still got concentration camps. I don't know how
Yeah.
democratic that is.
Yeah,
But well, at least maybe that saying was said before when it's like, oh, we're all poor, or we're all people believe that we're all poor, so therefore we're crafty. And
Yeah.
that's mother of invention.
yeah.
Maybe.
I'm wondering if it's just when I think crafty, I think like Fagin, like Oliver Twist.
yeah, but was he crafty?
And that seems,
I mean, he collected children.
Well,
Is that
I
crafty?
think it's I think of crafty as a negative, kind of sneaky, underhanded kind of. I group it in with those adjectives.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's
Not like the
necessarily
A-team.
true. I think that might just be
yeah,
my
yeah.
perception of it.
Yeah, crafty. Yeah, there's a negative element to the word. I think.
Yeah.
Like foxy. No, not foxy. What's there? So something like a fox. Sharp as a fox.
I thought that was-
Foxes aren't sharp.
Oh,
Sly
God.
as a fox.
Sly like a fox,
Something like that.
crafty like a fox.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's definitely kind of a negative limiter. But the A-team were crafty. I mean, they crafted a lot of stuff. They got out of a sticky situation in a creatively scripted way.
Yeah.
And they hated Snickers. Or they loved Snickers. I can't remember now. I think
Yeah.
he loved Snickers. Mr. T. I'm a letter. Get some nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be weird being Mr. T.
First name Mister.
Yeah, just
Last name T.
call me T.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. People
Ice
know me
Cube.
because of my jewellery and mohawk.
I've got lots of jewellery.
Yeah.
I don't like planes. I like milk.
Yeah.
One of those. I can't
Yeah.
remember. It's a weird show.
Yeah. I'll call it at that one this week.
All right.
Yeah. Shall I play the end one?
That was Steve's collection of useless meanderings. Scum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think we've got a graphic for that.
No. Probably the same as the first one. Just start it a second later.
Well, I'm at Nick Snip.
I'm at Sing It Steve.
Yeah, and we're at Pulling Teeth Podcast. We're Wisdom at Pulling Teeth Podcast.
Yeah. We are
com.
at Pulling Teeth Pod on Twitter. We are at Pulling Teeth Pod on Instagram.
Yeah, we don't fit a lot of the Instagram guidelines, so
No.
going forward there'll be more Instagram content.
Yeah.
But like they don't like it if videos are over a minute long.
Yeah.
And we like it when videos are more than a minute long.
Yeah. Hence why this one's an
hour.
hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, going forward we'll try and be a bit more Instagram friendly, and that's all fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, good positive week.
Yeah.
Could have done more creatively, I think.
Yeah.
But
Getting used to new things.
Yeah, getting the momentum back,
Yeah.
I think is still part of the thing.
But
yes.
yeah, that's 136.
Yeah, I can never remember the number, so I never say it.
I edit. All right. See you next week.